thank you, Vela, for having me. I'm having a lot of fun here. Um, I'm going to speak of one of my current build project, which is a bookstore in China. First, I would like to talk about fragmented reality. And most of the time, things don't work together. And maybe everything is a kind of sign that has the unique meaning and the potential to collide with each other. For example, these small pieces of plastic from the human society by using the ocean floor could be eaten by the bird. And in the China, and the keys from their human behavior, from the keys, the intention to play, and they will use the polluted water for washing the wet trash, which are from the worldwide, to having fun, to be interactive. When it comes to the city, and this is the site, this is the reality of the commercial district in Chinese city. Most likely, they will be decorated from very small detail to the bigger surface, even the whole building structure. Then I'm thinking, rather than to allow the isolation from each individual's understanding from anywhere or nowhere, to compose them together to some strange image, making facade and the style. What if we can recreate the new relationship and the new meaning among this existing building structure, space, and the contents of the interior, and then to the sign, to the signage. And most of the time, the internal contents or the internal idea was forced by the collective ideology of the signage culture of the sign, and they will repeat and reproduce them, just like previous images I have shown, either in our big ocean scale of the world, or to the street view, or to the village of the Chinese place where retreat the trash of all over the world. And these can produce all different kind of results from these different things isolation. And when Lefebvre in late 70s talk about cities, which can be the different ideological realization collide. You can see from the 1911 from KMT and to the economy opening of China by Deng Xiaoping, and each time period has different desire of urban development, so they are the adding of different results. So this is 1987 and 2013, and we can observe the biggest urban development during the whole human society and history, and we can see the signage from this scale. So Manfredo Taffuli talked about the crisis of architecture from last 70s, which is about the lack of the ideological function of architecture, and then the architecture become the pure composition and play of the details and form, and then the meaning that is given by the image and the surface making. And then I'm thinking about, is there a way to have the internal meaning of things and architecture of the retail shop and the interior to be connected and to work together to collaborate with the surface? Could that be one thing actually? So how can we constantly recreating the living identity that can talk to communicate with the surroundings and different elements, rather than institutionalize the type and the surfaces? And French philosophers talk about this kind of rearrangement of the existing elements, or let's say the realities. In his word, like the politics of aesthetics, we should rather call it meta politics, proposing to politics, rearrangement of its space, reconfiguring art as a potential political issue of assessing itself as a true politics. So for me, probably the practice of this kind of thinking can reopen a field from the projection of repetition of the surface making of images to a more maybe internal and recreative event of different kind of things of our world. And then I call this two different period of creating. One probably most familiar to us, post-tectonic, because we have the idea that is given from the history or from the style of the sign, for example, and then we just repeat for different shops and for different purpose. But for me, it's actually they are the same thing. What if we can pre-tectonic based on the owner of the shop? Maybe they are emotional to what they are doing, and they have a particular site, and they have their own purpose. Maybe we can create each different sign and also the space and the building structure in one whole, and that could be one and only in the whole world. And then maybe require, this is totally new part I added from last time, so I just quickly make the slide. So for example, in Chinese culture, and we focus on the inside, and the universe is we call 自然, that means self-sufficient, and it is always here and inherent, and all entities are related, cannot be separated or escaped into and outside. That means maybe the internal world and the outside surface or the behavior are actually same thing. But you have to have a surface, you have to have a external representation to communicate with the outside. So this is the Zhang Zheduan from Song Dynasty's famous painting about along the river during the Qingming festival. This is more than 5 meters long painting that describes all the commercial activities during this festival. And when we zoom in, you can see all this human scale urban space that is full of flow of people from different kind of activities, and also the street structure and building surface and the building's contents. And when you zoom in again, and probably we don't see the sign. And the contents and the space and the structure of the architecture is sign. And we don't need to propose a surface style what we are selling. And probably when you can see one sign, traditionally considered that for me to enhance the memory of the customer, to remember your quality, and to say, okay, next time I'm going to this shop from this dealer. And another type of sign making is for this very fancy restaurant, or very, very high level of social status architecture. Probably they will produce the signage, and most of the time you will identify the activities and the retail activities from this space, constantly space interaction and their talk and their moving and their behaviors from inside and to the architecture and to the events. Then what I'm going to show my project is not that beautiful. You have the continuous surface of the natural landscape that is not distracted yet, right, by modern power, and you have the human scale building structure that is open towards to the outside. This is what I have from the site image I showed at the beginning. That's the interior of that site. And this big thing, you cannot touch, you cannot change the fit. That's within the building code for ventilation and for facility. And this is the second floor. So I want to make it like an urban knowledge space. where people's behavior and the reading and getting the knowledge as a particular space of knowledge kind of learning, sharing, and communicating. So this is the structure I have proposed. And since we don't have the, like first floor, like space from natural landscape and to the interior and to the open structure, and we have to have this modernized building style that is so repetitive in all over China. So the meaning for me to rechange part of the structure that can overall change the structure of the massive scale and amount of architecture. So this is the facade we have seen before, and this is the rectangular space. So how can the interior space of the architecture of reading behavior can be expanded to the facade and could be perceived and observed and felt by the pedestrians. So this is a plan. So this second layer sign. And this is not perfectly treated. If you can see here, you can see the existing urban natural landscape. This is the underground parking lot. Well, if I can make this facade transparent, and this is a moving sign structure. But the problem is that beside this thick glass wall, you have another sign that is from different property. And if you want to use it, you need to pay more. And then the client said, probably just stick one color facade to it. So I'm still negotiating with them. So this is the interior. So from the outside world and to the interior, the sign is kind of extended for the reading experience as a continuous whole. So when you are entering and playing and reading in the space, you are still thinking about the sign. So during the morning session, I have learned a lot from all the speakers. I feel maybe the sign, when you see the sign, it's not the finish. Maybe it's just the beginning. So when you enter the space, you are still thinking about something about the sign. How can the sign could be participatory within your whole experience of doing something? But in this case, it's reading. And you have all different kind of scale, and there is no mistake about scale in this case, because when you see this space in very isolated point of view, this is really not comfortable. But if you have this scale within the whole spatial condition, probably you will feel you are reading at the most safe place in the whole world. Because I experienced, I'm telling the truth. Yeah. Yeah. And lastly, I want to talk about the fundamental question of what is art in general. I think this porosity view to make the involvement and the connection between the existing isolated thing is the fundamental to recreate, and maybe recreated could means freedom. And last, I want to show so it's still a multiple purpose space where the kids walking past also could be part of the sign imagination and realization, and also relate to their memory to the existing activities. Thank you.